Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Sunday, January the 19th. And I don't normally watch Misfits Boxing at all. Um, but yesterday in Manchester, in the UK, there was a Misfits Boxing card. I didn't see it due to the 8-hour time difference until this morning. I was having my little workout downstairs and I thought I would put it on and watch it. And as you know, I'm not normally given to cussing on this channel, but the only thing I can say truly is, what the fuck did I just see? I mean, it was terrible. It was, my feeling went from being incredulous that this was being held to, honestly, if I hadn't been on a treadmill, I think I would have just closed my eyes. I mean, it was like watching a car accident. Now clearly I'm not the demographic, I guess, that these kind of shows are meant to appeal to. Other than Darren Till, who is a former MMA fighter, I honestly didn't know who any of these people were. I'd never heard of some of them. They're very popular in the UK where the fight was held, I'm sure. It seemed to be a big crowd, and obviously it's very popular. So while it's not for me, I see that there is a market. But my concern is that as a boxing fan, this misfit stuff, I think, can be really harmful to the real, true sport of boxing, because it kind of looks to the casual audience like you're watching a boxing match. But of course you're not. You're watching people wearing boxing gloves having a bit of a ding dong in a ring. Anyhow, I'll just, for what it's worth, I'll go through the card and I'll just provide the briefest of commentary. So the first fight was between somebody called BBC Gareth and Cack Hat. Clearly these aren't their real names, but I haven't bothered to look up what their real names are. I'm not interested enough. The loser, who was the Cack Hat fellow, both these, was fat, out of shape, absolutely no defense, no skills really displayed. It kind of looked like it kind of looked a little bit like if you rock up to a pub parking lot and there's two guys having a brawl and you kind of wait for them to exhaust each other and then you go and nick both of them for fighting in a public place. That's my assessment of it. The second fight was between somebody called Brooks and Gavino. Again, one guy looked I can say this because I am old. One guy looked elderly, again, out of shape. And at one point, he was looking at the canvas while the other guy was hitting him. My understanding of this is you should try and at least keep a guard up and keep your head on a swivel. Generally speaking, looking at the floor when people are hitting you, that's ill-advised, to say the least. He quit quite sensibly. No defense that I could see while swinging. And then there was a mismatch. They're all mismatches, I guess. The son of Naz, Prince Naz, was fighting somebody called Johnson. Hamed looks like he can box. I suspect that he can. The other guy couldn't. And then maybe the most amusing, I suppose, fight for me was a fellow called Afghan Dan, who didn't look to be Afghani, but that's his handle. He was fighting some skinny guy whose name I honestly didn't catch, and I'm not going to go and watch it again to try and find out. There's only so much watching I can do of this. Sorry. Sorry, I wish I knew how to edit this out. But I didn't mean to be laughing at them. I take my hat off to anybody who steps in the ring, puts on gloves, and has a go. But um, the 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 people commentating said that the fighters were displaying crackhead energy, which kind of guess sums it up. The Afghan Dan fellow eventually he dislocated his shoulder. Looked quite hideous actually, and no doubt very painful. He was spinning around. He was turning his back, and it's a technique I'm not familiar with in fighting. But the turning your back, and I suppose maybe he thought the back of his head was a better place to be hit than being hit on the nose. Again, highly ill-advised. Yeah, it was totally uncoordinated. There were wild swings. It looked like a couple of crackheads. I mean, honestly, you could go and give $100 to a couple of junkies and ask them to fight. That's the kind of thing it looked like. And then there were two ladies who sort of worked their way to a majority draw. There was one called Killer Carla, and I didn't catch the name of the other. I tried to look away, and then I almost fell off the treadmill. So that was kind of the end of that. Then there was people called Mitchell and I think it was Henry. Where was the ref? At some point, one guy was taking punishment, and the ref was kind of like, a workman leaning on a shovel, having a smoke kind of thing. And then he sort of moved in and let the fight continue, and then a knockout followed. The reffing, and I will say this about the entire card: if you're going to have these wildly inexperienced and terribly unfit, fat, elderly, out of shape people fighting, you need to have referees who are on it. My concern is that someone's going to get badly hurt, and then it will reflect terribly on the sport of boxing. This is why I'm concerned about it. I mean, other than as a human being, you generally speaking don't like to see people just getting beaten up for the sake of getting beaten up. But as a boxing fan, you see something that isn't boxing, but a lot of people think is boxing. Someone's going to get very badly hurt, or heaven forbid, their life's going to be ended in that sort of event. And then people are going to say, "Whoa, well, maybe boxing should be banned, or maybe boxing is." Honestly, there's too much risk for me as a boxing fan to see this stuff sort of being held and kind of looking like boxing. And then, oh yes, there was somebody called the Maasai Warrior who fought against another fellow. It looked, relative to the other fights, it looked sort of okay. They were unbelievably gassed at the end of the fight, and that's when people are going to get hurt. Which leads me to another comment. I think some of these fights were scheduled for 4 3-minute rounds. I would say 3-2s. It should be the absolute limit, or even maybe 3.5-minute rounds. Trying to keep your hands up, keep aware, stay focused for 3 minutes when somebody is hitting you, and then do that 4 rounds in a row. That's a challenge. It doesn't sound to the uninitiated that it's really difficult, but it sure as hell is. As I'm sure if you're watching this channel, you know. I don't need to tell you guys this. And then the last fight was the Darren Till against somebody called Taylor. And I think Darren Till had originally been scheduled to fight Tommy Fury, which I would have actually watched because I would have liked to have seen Tommy Fury get ironed out. But Tommy Fury is a real boxer, and Darren Till is a real MMA fighter. But the fellow Tommy Fury had ducked this fight and said he wasn't going to play. And so Darren Till fought against this fellow called Taylor. To me, it looked like a light heavyweight fighting a middleweight. Darren Till won the fight, of course. So, well, there we go. Let me know what you think. Am I completely out to lunch on this? Am I, sort of just, being grumpy about Misfits Boxing? Am I missing what this is all about? Let me know. And let me know if you agree with me. Like I say, I'm not, I sound like I'm mocking these people. I am absolutely not. I take my hat off to anybody that steps into the ring. You've got to be brave to do it. My biggest concern is that one of them is going to get very badly injured, which would be terrible for them and their friends and family. But it's also going to have a deleterious effect on how boxing generally is viewed. So let me know what you think. Please hit like, share, and subscribe. I really, really enjoy making these videos and talking to you all. Wherever you are in the world, have a fabulous day. Thank you very much. Cheers.